How's it going, Twitch? My name is Skull, and on behalf of Soft, welcome to today's stream. Today, I am playing a brand new game called The Fissure. This is a visual novel that is releasing this week. Otherwise, I'm going into this completely blind as usual. I don't have a clue what to expect, other than the really creepy cover image and the text, "Investigate the mystery of an old family home." Yeah, that sounds like fun, doesn't it? Hi, Trash Rando, how are you doing? So, yeah, this releases later this week, so consider this an early look at the game. Let's go ahead and hop into it, see what awaits us. Let's check out our options here. We got English, Spanish, German, French, Portuguese. Nice. That's a lot of options. Okay, so you can control the different volumes there. Gallery. 9, 12, 15, 18 images. And 3 different endings. Oh, that's a lot. Let's check out the credits. A game by SMV Games Development. Written, designed, and programmed by Sebastian. Playtesting by Tiago. Music by Scott Buckley. Released under Creative Commons. Special thanks to everyone who played and supported the project. I feel like I've played games from this team before, so nice. Let's go into it. Chapter 1, The Arrival. Hi, Andrea. Excuse me. The wind hit the body of the truck with force. It roared against the metal as if trying to push it off the road. Nawel? N-A... How does one pronounce this name? Nawel. I'm going with Nawel. Nawel kept his knuckles white on the steering wheel. The heater had stopped working kilometers ago. Now only the cold remained, seeping through the windows. I know what that background is. That's a shepherd tone. A shepherd tone is where a tone continuously goes up while looping around itself, so it gives the impression of just never stops going up, but you can't tell where it begins or ends. It's the same as, for example, the endless staircase that you encounter in Super Mario 64. The trees tall and thin. The reason for it is to make it feel unsettling, and it's certainly giving me that impression right now. The trees, tall and thin, seemed to lean towards him. They closed over the road like a dark vault. Every branch was a bony finger pointing at his return. Every creak of the forest sounded like a warning. The rusty sign appeared suddenly on the right amidst the brush. San Andrian, it read, with crooked letters. The metal was eaten by rust, almost illegible. And now we've got more creepy. Ugh. Hi, Roth. How are you doing? Bring in the popcorn. We all know how much the chat loves to see me get nervous when I play games. My unsettlingness is quite entertaining, I have been told. Nawel eased off the accelerator instinctively. Almost there. Why do I feel like I shouldn't be here? The engine growled as it climbed the last gravel hill. Beyond, the town emerged from the low mist. The streets were of uneven gray dirt. And it's raining over there too. Not a cloud in the sky over here, but it's nice and cool for some reason. Wooden houses with blinds drawn or closed. It looked like an abandoned model under the leaden sky. Oh, I hate that. It's so unnerving. He saw curtains moving subtly in a window. But when he looked, they stood still. An ancient church dominated the end of the street. The tower had no cross on top, only a twisted lightning rod. An empty square, No children, no dogs, no birds. The silence was so dense it buzzed in his ears. But Nawel felt with total certainty that he was being watched. Very cozy, just like in Mom's stories. He drove on slowly, keeping an eye on the road on the map on the seat. A folded sheet, handwritten by his great aunt. The ink was smeared on some edges by the dampness. Turn where it smells of firewood, said one of the marginal notes. Nawel rolled down the window a bit. The freezing air hit his face. And, yes, it smelled of burnt firewood and resin. The house appeared at the end of the mossy stone path. It was huge, of dark veined wood, with high ceilings that vanished into the treetops. The structure seemed to breathe with the wind. A warm light, almost orange, escaped through the cracks. It illuminated the dust floating on the porch. There were no cars parked, no signs of anyone in the overgrown garden. But the front door was ajar. Did they leave it like this, in this cold? He turned off the engine. The silence returned suddenly. I said the silence returned suddenly. There we go. Just a little trick. I just muted the game, that's all. Now, can you imagine? He got out of the vehicle, and the crunch of his boots sounded alien. He looked for the key under a stone, as the letter indicated. His fingers touched the cold, rough metal. He found it. Rusty, heavy, but whole. He climbed the porch steps. The wood groaned under his weight. He pushed the door with his fingertips. It never ends. It never stops. Oh man, it's so overwhelming. The silence inside was the first thing that hit him. It wasn't an empty silence. It was a silence that waited. Then the smell. A mix of firewood out for days and damp wood. But there was something else underneath that. Like dried flowers kept in a book, or freshly turned earth from a garden. Nawel shook the cold off his shoulders. Okay, do we explore the side hallway or go straight to the main hall? Uh-oh. No, there we go. Just had to back up one. Explore the side hall or go straight to the main hall. If characters were self-aware, they would know that they're in a horror story and they would turn around and say, nope, this isn't worth it. I'm going home. But Nawel doesn't know he's in a horror game, so we're going to explore for a little bit. Nawel hesitated. A shadow to his left caught his attention. He took the side hallway, moving away from the main light. It was narrow, dark, with peeling wallpaper. What's the appeal of wallpaper anyway? I've never understood the appeal of wallpaper. Just paint it a color and put posters and stuff and shelves and stuff on it. I've never understood wallpaper as long as I've been alive. Is this a new song? Sounds like it. Besides, hasn't wallpaper been out of fashion for like 40, 50 years now? Now, I remember seeing some in the 90s, but man. At the end, a full-length mirror reflected the gloom. He didn't remember a mirror there from his childhood visits. He walked towards it. The floor creaked with every step. And then he looked in the mirror and he saw himself! As he approached, his reflection blinked before he did. Told ya! It was just a fraction of a second, as if the image in the glass had a delay. Just an illusion, he told himself, rubbing his eyes. Travel fatigue, surely. But he didn't look at himself directly again. He returned to the hall, his heart beating faster than normal. Everything was spotless, strangely clean, intact like a museum. There was no dust on the furniture, nor spider webs. Some enjoy wallpaper patterns, magic eye style. Well, those people are weird, is what I gotta say. On the central wall hung an oil portrait, a woman with dark eyes and sharp cheekbones. Her expression was firm, serious, almost accusing. A bronze plaque underneath read, Ophelia, 1913. It's not quite what that says. I think that our good old friend Al had a say in the painting, unfortunately. Ophelia? Noel frowned, confused. Wasn't my great aunt's named Eugenia? I'm sure the letter said Eugenia, although that name sounds familiar. He blinked, trying to clear his memory. When he refocused his gaze, the plaque was gone. There was only smooth wood beneath the frame. A chill ran down his spine. He moved toward the kitchen, seeking some normality. It had a rustic solid wood table in the center. On it, a scene that didn't fit with the abandonment. A half-finished cup of tea. Noel reached out. The liquid was still warm. Beside it, an open jar of homemade jam. There were no spoons. No plates, nor crumbs. Only a chair slightly pushed back, as if someone had stood up in a hurry upon hearing him arrive. Was someone here just now? Hello? Is anyone there? His voice died without an echo. No one answered. The pendulum clock on the wall struck 10 o'clock exactly. It gave 3 deep chimes. Bong, bong, bong. Then one more. And then another. 5. Noel stood still, waiting for logic. There was no 6th. The pendulum continued swinging in silence. He dragged his feet up the stairs. The master bedroom was tidy, waiting for him. A sturdy wooden bed with a hand-knitted blanket. A table lamp was on, humming quietly. The curtainless windows showed the forest. Dark, impenetrable. Still, too still. Not a leaf was moving now. I need to sleep. My mind is playing tricks on me. He took off his shoes. He dropped his backpack on the floor with a thud. He went to the window to close it. Before his hand touched the metal, the latch turned. Click. It turned by itself, locking the glass pane. Noel took a step back, holding his breath. He turned around quickly, looking for someone in the room. There was no one. Just the lamp humming and his own shadow on the wall. Exhaustion overcame him, but brought him no rest. That night, he dreamed of the same house. But it was empty, stripped bare. No furniture, no paintings, no life. No windows to the outside, only blind walls. There was only a door at the end of an endless hallway. Someone was knocking from the other side. A sharp knock. 2, 3 times. The sound reverberated in his teeth. Nawel approached slowly, not wanting to. His feet moved on their own over the bare wood. It's a small thing, but I like how the text showing up on screen is like, it sounds like a typewriter. It's kind of fun. He knew he shouldn't open it. He knew what was on the other side was wrong, but his hand turned the knob anyway. The door opened with a groan. And on the other side, in total darkness, it was him, staring at him with unblinking eyes. The first night, trophy urn, yay. That's a little creepy. Can you imagine opening the door and seeing yourself on the other side? There's 10 chapters to this thing, 11 chapters. Or 12 maybe. Oh, we're in for a treat, eh? The sound of the wind was the first thing to slip into his dream. A sharp, constant, irritating whistle. As if someone were blowing directly against the glass. Nawel opened his eyes suddenly, his mouth dry. The room was still there, bathed in a grayish light. Everything looked the same as last night. The chair in its place, the backpack closed, everything in order, except for the blanket. It was thrown on the floor, crumpled up far from the bed, as if someone had yanked it off violently. Betcha his nightmare made him throw it off. Did I move that much last night? I'm willing to bet yes. People do crazy things when they're asleep. He got up, his body tense and aching. He had slept poorly in fits and starts. He remembered fragments of a dream, something with a locked door, and knocking coming from the other side. But the details slipped away like water through his fingers. When he left the room, the hallway greeted him with a different smell. It no longer smelled of old dampness. It smelled of freshly cut wood, of fresh sawdust, as if someone had been sanding the floor while he slept. He walked in silence toward the stairs. He heard every creak of the boards under his socks. As he passed his great aunt's portrait, he stopped dead. The painting was tilted to the left, very slightly, just a few degrees. But he was sure it was straight yesterday. Also, yesterday it was facing the other direction. Just saying. She used to be like this. Now she's like this. Evening, Dim. You go ahead and lurk away. He straightened it carefully, feeling a foolish discomfort on his neck. His skin crawled, as if someone were watching him from the end of the hallway. Ooh, cookies! In the kitchen, last night's scene had changed completely. He found the teacup washed and dried on the counter. The jam jar was sealed tight. And on a small china plate, there were 3 oatmeal cookies. Oh, oatmeal though. Beggars can't be choosers. They definitely weren't there the night before. But the clock on the wall's the same. Man, he slept in. Did I leave them? Am I so tired I forgot? He sat down in front of the food. The smell of the oats and honey was intense, almost cloying. Again, he doesn't know he's in a horror game, so... Hunger overcame doubt. He took a cookie. It crunched softly as he bit into it. It was fresh. It tasted of oats, cinnamon, and something else. sweet, disturbingly familiar, as if his childhood were hidden in that precious flavor. There's a really long hair on my microphone. There we go. He remembered rainy afternoons and a kitchen that wasn't this one. The wall clock marked the hour with a metallic sound. 10 o'clock, again. It chimed once, bong, then another out of time. Then 3 more in a row, fast, rushed. Then nothing, absolute silence. This clock is totally broken. I agree. That's the second time that it showed 10 o'clock and it bonged 5 times. That must be a clue of some kind. He made a mental note to look for tools to check it later. Fixing a clock? I'm pretty sure these days it's a lot easier and cheaper to just buy a new one. But deep down he knew he wouldn't. The house felt suffocating. He decided to go out. He grabbed his jacket and walked towards town, looking for air. The air outside was much colder than he expected for the season. The sky remained covered with low, leaden clouds. The path crunched under his feet, full of damp stones. Everything smelled of wet earth and ozone, like before a storm. What does ozone smell like, anyway? I'm sure I've smelled it before, I just don't know what it smells like. Upon arrival, he noticed that San Adrian. Actually, it's Adrian. San Adrian. Adrian. He noticed that the town wasn't empty, but no one greeted him. They didn't even look him in the eye. People watched him from afar, murmuring, "Ooh, is this like the plot twist at the end of The Sixth Sense? I wonder if this is the plot twist from the end of The Sixth Sense." Some turned their faces abruptly when they saw him pass. Others simply closed the door and slid the bolts, as if they didn't recognize him, or as if they recognized him too well. Yeah, that was definitely made with the help of Al. I think that's pretty obvious, unfortunately. The only place open was a narrow store on a corner. It was old, with crooked shelves full of rusty cans. There was a mechanical scale on the worn wooden counter. Behind it, an older woman was arranging cardboard boxes. Her nails were painted a chipped black. Her gray hair pulled back in a tight, severe bun. She looked at him without smiling. Her eyes were hard. "Back early, huh?" "Excuse me? What did you say?" "I said you came back early this time." "No, ma'am, I've never been here before. It's my first time here." The woman frowned, evaluating him. Then she smiled. The smile didn't reach her eyes. "Sure, never. Whatever you say, kid. Are you buying something or did you just come in to look?" "Some bread and coffee if you have any. And make it quick, please." She wrapped the items in brown paper without speaking another word. As he left, he felt a weight on the back of his neck. He felt someone was watching him from the darkness at the back of the store. A motionless silhouette behind a beaded curtain. Very still, not breathing. He returned to the house almost running without speaking a word to anyone. He made lunch and ate alone in a dense silence. The bread was stale and tasted of mold. The coffee had a metallic taste like blood or old iron. He decided he couldn't sit still. He had to check upstairs. What is he even doing here anyway, huh? What's the purpose of his visit to this weird, creepy town? There was a steep staircase at the end of the hall he had ignored. He started to climb, counting the steps to distract himself. 1, 2, 3. There were 13 in total. Lucky 13! Number 13 creaked twice under his weight. Upstairs, the air was noticeably colder than below, and the smell changed suddenly. It smelled of confinement, of dust accumulated for decades, of old things rotting slowly, and something else, a sweet and cloying smell of melted candle wax, and the same scent of dried flowers he felt the night before. The upper hallway was long. There were 4 doors. 2 on the left facing each other, another on the right, smaller, and a single one at the end in the gloom. He tried the first 3. They were closed but unlocked. They were empty, ghostly rooms. Furniture covered with white sheets that looked like shrouds. The door at the end was different. It was locked with a rusty iron bolt, and a thick chain crossed the frame. On the other side, nothing could be heard, only absolute silence. But Nawell felt a physical pressure in his chest as he approached, as if something on the other side were holding its breath, waiting for him to make a mistake. I don't have the key for this. Better that way. He didn't try to force it. His instinct screamed at him to get away. Not yet. He wasn't ready. He went down the stairs, almost fleeing from the upper floor. He saw a distraction at the desk in the main living room. He found a stack of hardcover notebooks. He opened them at random. They all had the same handwriting, a delicate, cursive, ancient script. But the stroke was firm, decisive, written in black ink that didn't fade with time. On the first page of one, he found a single phrase: "What the house remembers becomes real." He slammed the notebook shut, kicking up dust. What the hell is that supposed to mean? The rest of the day passed exasperatingly slow. Every so often, Nawell looked up at the ceiling. He thought he heard dragging footsteps upstairs, but every single time he went up to check, there was no one. Why is he here? What is the purpose of his visit? Dude, there has to be some reason that he has to be here. Otherwise, any sane person would have left town, like, a long time ago. So, I don't get it. At dusk, the interior became unbearable. He sat on the porch with a blanket over his shoulders. The sky was covered in red clouds, like wounds. Hey, there's the bot! The AI bot! Be gone, bot! But thank you for making a name that was easy for me to type out. The sky was covered in red clouds like wounds. The forest in front of him shook with the rising wind. And then, among the dark trunks, he saw something. He thought he saw a still figure standing in the undergrowth. Oh yeah, I see it. Thank you, Dim. Gave you something to do. It didn't move. It made no gestures. It didn't approach the house. It was just there, a black stain in the twilight. Let's keep Twitch clean. Yeah, as much as we can anyway. Staring fixedly at the porch. It stayed there, watching him, until the night swallowed it up. What, and you didn't think to go and see what it was? I mean, honestly. Chapter 3, The Wooden Dream. Nawell woke up with a violent jolt as if falling into a void. He sat up in bed, gasping for air. He didn't remember the nightmare, but the fear was still there. His breath came out in short, white clouds. The air was freezing, much more so than the night before. It was a still cold, one that chilled to the bone. He looked at the window. It was still closed and locked. Then he saw the chair in the corner. The blanket he had left lying on the floor was there, folded in a perfect square, geometric. He hadn't touched it, he was sure. Again? Am I sleepwalking or am I going crazy? He got up, barefoot. His feet curled upon touching the frozen wooden floor. He walked to the window and yanked the curtains open. Outside, the world had disappeared. The mist covered the forest, thick, white, and solid. It looked like a wall of cotton pressing against the glass. But looking down at the wet ground, he saw something. Something that broke the monotony of the mud. Footprints. They were human, small, barefoot, toes dug deep into the cold earth. They circled the house in a perfect ring, as if someone had been patrolling or trapping him. Who walks barefoot in this cold? Well, he did get out of bed barefoot, so I do wonder if maybe he is going crazy. Maybe he has an alter ego. Maybe it's like Fight Club, which I would go into detail on, but the number one rule of Fight Club is we don't talk about Fight Club. Superseded only by rule number 2 of Fight Club, which is also we don't talk about Fight Club. He scanned for the start of the trail. There were no signs they came from the forest. No, none whatsoever. No mud on the front porch. No wet traces inside the room. The footprints simply were there. He went out into the hallway, gripping a heavy flashlight. Dawn had broken hours ago, but the house remained in gloom. Sunlight dried before entering through the dirty windows. He walked down the corridor, a beam of light cutting ahead of him. He stopped. One of the side doors, which was closed last night, now wasn't. It was ajar just a few inches. He remembered trying the knob. It was locked yesterday. Now it had no key. It had no visible latch, only a dark mouth and silence behind. He pushed the wood with his fingertips. The wood creaked, complaining of disuse. A beam of light swept the interior. Nothing. Bare walls, clean floor. Just a wooden chair in the exact center of the room. It was facing the blank wall, like a punishment chair. On the seat, a folded sheet of paper. Yellow paper, old, brittle to the touch. He picked it up. The handwriting was identical to the notebooks. The same firm hand, the same black ink. It said a single phrase. To remember is to obey. What does that mean? Who leaves this? He crumpled the paper and shoved it in his pocket, feeling nauseous. He needed air, even if it was stale. Instead of returning to the dining room, he walked a bit more down the hall. He reached a narrow side window. On the other side, the fog seemed glued to the glass like paste. It was almost liquid, moving slowly. For a second, he swore he saw a shadow move in it. A tall silhouette passing right in front of the window. He blinked and pressed his face to the cold glass. Nothing, just white and gray. A feeling of deja vu shook him violently. He had looked through this window before. He had felt this fear. He returned to the dining room, more confused and dazed than before. He sat at the large table with one of the old notebooks. He opened a new blank page. The pen trembled in his hand. He wrote quickly. Door opened by itself. Chair alone in empty room. Note with strange phrase, to remember is to obey. He stared at the last word. He underlined the word, remember. Once, twice, 3 times, until almost tearing the paper. He did it without thinking too much, like an automaton, as if he knew his own mind would try to erase it later. The rest of the day dragged on, slow and heavy. Nalwell barely took a bite. His stomach was knotted. He lay down on the living room sofa without realizing it. The house was plunged into absolute oppressive silence. His eyelids weighed tons, and then, against his will, he fell asleep. Sleep was not a relief. It was an immersion. Ah, that is quite the creepy look, isn't it? Ugh. In his dream, the house wasn't made of wood and stone. It was made of old flesh and dry tendons. The walls pulsed with a slow, sickly rhythm. The floor creaked as if breathing under his feet. Inhale, exhale. He saw a staircase going up to nowhere into darkness. And at the top, a figure was knitting, sitting in a rocking chair made of bones. She had a dirty wedding veil over her face. He knew it was his great aunt, but he also knew it wasn't her. It was something older. The figure didn't speak, only moved the needles. Click, click, click. Until she stopped her hands and whispered without a mouth. When you remember, the house will go silent. The phrase exploded in his head and woke him up. He woke up screaming inwardly. He was sweating cold, his shirt stuck to his back. He sat up suddenly on the sofa. It was sunset. Red light bathed the room like blood. The notebook was still on the table where he had left it. It was open, but the page no longer said what he had written. There was a new phrase in his own handwriting, but deformed. I came before. I came before. Written over and over, filling the margins. I came before. No. I didn't write this. I didn't do it. I was asleep. He slammed the notebook shut and threw it far away. That night, darkness fell like a slab. The house became darker and more hostile than ever. Nalwell was in bed, eyes open, unable to sleep. Get a hotel! Come on, why are you here? What is the reason for this visit in the first place? I don't understand why this... I mean, I'm not one to complain, but from a storytelling perspective, this story just makes no sense. If there's no reason for him to be here, then there's no reason for this story to exist in the first place. You know what I mean? Why is he here? Then he heard it. Something was moving upstairs. I mean, maybe that'll be explained later, but we're 3 chapters in and I don't have the first idea why he's here. Hi, King Desert Loner / Wild Man the Great. I kind of like your new name better, Wild Man the Great. Footsteps. Heavy. Very slow. Deliberate. It sounded like someone dragging their feet instead of walking. Or like dragging something. Fear turned into fury. He grabbed the flashlight. He went out into the hall and faced the stairs. He climbed the steps. 1, 2. The wood groaned under his boots. 3. Every step was a deafening beat in his ears. He reached the end of the upper hallway. He shined the light on the door at the end. The chain's door. It was still closed. The chain was taut, biting into the wood. Motionless. Nothing had entered or left through there. He got close to smell the door seam. The air on the other side smelled of melted, rancid candle wax. I like the name Wild Man / King Desert Loner. I like both your names. They're really excellent names. And something else. A sweet, sickly smell. Like the perfume his mother used when he was a child. But distorted. Rotten. He backed away in disgust and returned to his room. He closed the door and propped the chair against the lock. He sat on the bed, elbows on his knees. He breathed deeply, trying not to vomit. He closed his eyes for a moment to pray or curse. When he opened them, he saw something peeking out from under his pillow. He reached in. It was cold. A key. Small. Of black iron, rough iron. Old-fashioned, it weighed more than it should. Cold as a river stone in winter. Was it there before? Did I sleep on this? He didn't know. His memory was a sieve. But something in his gut told him, yes, that it had always been there, waiting for him to dare to look. Complete chapter 3, done. The key was still on the nightstand where he had left it. Small, black, with the metal rough and pitted by time. Nawell hadn't touched it since last night. It disgusted him. But he felt it calling him, like an invisible magnet. He didn't need to try it in any lock to know. He knew exactly which door it opened. Outside, the forest was motionless, petrified. Not a leaf moved. The birds had gone silent. The wind, which howled before, had vanished completely. As if the world were holding its breath. Let's go ahead and use it. He couldn't wait any longer. Curiosity was stronger than terror. He climbed the stairs, clutching the key in his fist. Step by step, overcoming the resistance of the air. Upstairs, the atmosphere was dense, almost liquid. The chain still crossed the door at the end. And not very well at that, I will add. But it was no longer taut like last night. It hung loose, curved, as if it had given up. Nawell inserted the key into the rusty lock. It fit perfectly, as if it had been made yesterday. It turned with a slight click that sounded like a gunshot in the silence. The chain came loose on its own and fell. It didn't hit the floor with a crash. It slid softly, like a metal snake. The door opened slightly with a sigh of stale air. He entered, shining the flashlight. The room was covered by a layer of thick gray dust. Yes, Wild Man. It looked like dirty snow accumulated over decades. Everything was gray except for a desk in the corner. There, the dust seemed to have been recently removed. There was a single bed without sheets, skeletal, a chair against the wall, and a blind, boarded-up window. The light from his flashlight cut the darkness into thin lines. He approached the desk. There was an open book. It was missing many pages, torn out violently. But on a still legible sheet, there was a handwritten phrase. You doubted the first time, too. But you did it anyway. First time? What is he talking about? Next to the book rested a small wooden box. Small, dark, polished by use. It had strange symbols carved on the lid. None were recognizable, but their geometry was dizzying. Upon touching it, the wood vibrated subtly under his fingers. A hollow sound came from the other side of the room. Like a response to his touch, a vibration in the wall. Noel approached the wooden panels. He tapped gently with his knuckles. Knock, knock. It sounded hollow. With his fingernail, he pushed a sideboard that seemed loose. It moved barely, revealing a hidden hinge. Inside was a dark hollow, a secret compartment between the studs. Well, I hope so too, Wild Man. And inside it, only one thing. A photograph. He took it out with hands that didn't respond well. It was an old photo, printed on grainy black and white paper. It showed the facade of this very house, and standing in front of the porch, there was a man. Standing, rigid, with his hands in his pockets. Clearly. Looking straight at the lens. Straight at Noel. Noel felt his mouth go dry to the point of pain. The man in the photo was him. A little younger, with clothes Noel didn't own. But his face, his eyes, that grimace of sadness were unmistakable. A faint echo exploded in his mind. The physical sensation of having stood there. Of having been someone else, but thinking the same thing as now. But never fully remembering. Always forgetting. He turned the photo over. Handwritten, there was a date. October 14, 2019. Clearly on the other side. Exactly 5 years ago. It can't be. I never came here as an adult. His legs failed him, and he sat on the bare bed. The photograph burned in his hand. His heart beat against his chest, trying to get out. Hey, it's a completely different photo now, too. I'll give it up. I think it's pretty obvious what happened. The walls seemed to have moved half a meter closer. The dust floated thicker, suffocating. The air had become unbreathable. I'm still saying he's dead. This is his, I'm dead, finding out that I'm dead moment. Noel looked at his hands, stained with gray dust. He felt different. He was no longer just a visitor, and we never found out why he's a visitor in the first place. But he didn't know why, nor what it meant. He left the room walking like a drunk. Yeah, exactly. Well, wild man. He closed the door gently without making noise. He put the chain back in place, but this time he didn't secure it with the padlock. He just left it hanging, pretending it was locked. As if he knew there was no point in trying to lock anything away anymore. Okay, trophy earned. Okay. Noel went down the stairs with a feeling of lead in his chest. The house seemed to have woken up in a bad mood. The kitchen was wrapped in a dense, unnatural silence. The kettle was still on the stove, but it was cold to the touch. He was sure he hadn't taken it out of the cupboard. He poured himself a tea with lukewarm tap water. The taste was dreadful, bitter with a metallic aftertaste. He spat the first sip into the sink. Turning around, he saw the table. It was a mess. Old books, open, and yellowed papers scattered. He didn't remember messing anything up yesterday. Among the mess, one object stood out for its neatness. A thick, cream-colored paper envelope sealed with red wax. The wax seal was broken in the middle. It looked like a circular figure, perhaps a sun or an eye. The envelope had his full name written in fountain pen, Noel Tomás Varela. The handwriting was elegant, ancient. Trembling slightly, he tore the paper. Inside was a single sheet of letter paper. The calligraphy was impeccable, without smudges. It began directly, without a date. Noel, I know that reading this will make you feel confused. It is not the first time, and although you deny it, it won't be the last time. Noel felt a knot tightening in the pit of his stomach. He kept reading, devouring the words. You are in the house, our house. Maybe you don't remember, but you came before, many times. Every time you return, something changes, a detail, an error. This time, do not lock the entrance. Signed, C. Noel dropped the letter on the table. He stared at it as if it were a poisonous insect. Nothing in it seemed familiar to him, and yet, a voice in his head screamed that it was true. Noel picked up the paper again. He ran his fingertip over the ink. He was looking for something between the lines, a code, a lie. Some hidden message in the pressure of the strokes. Some clue as to who C was. But he only found more unanswered questions, and the certainty, heavy as a stone, that he had already been there. He put the letter on the desk, away from his sight. He observed the shelves on the opposite wall. There was something messy in the perfect row of books. One of the volumes protruded just a few millimeters. He pulled slightly on the spine. It was stuck. He pulled harder and noticed it wasn't a real book. Behind several fake spines was a hollow space. He reached into the darkness and pulled out a book with no title. It was covered in sticky gray dust. He opened it. On the first page, pasted in, was a photograph. A young woman, dark-haired, sitting by this same stove. The posture, the clothes, everything seemed painfully familiar. You can see right through me. Behind the photo, written with the same firm handwriting as the letter, do not lock the door this time. You know what happens if you do. Noel ran to the front door and threw it open. A wall of thick fog waited him outside. The world blurred beyond the porch railing. The forest couldn't be seen, nor the path, nor the gate. He took a step outside, defiant. The air was dense, almost solid. It was hard to breathe. A deep, unnatural silence enveloped everything. He walked to the edge of the tree line. Beyond, the fog was a white abyss. This makes no sense. It's impossible for it to be this dense. The cold chilled him to the bone. He went back inside, shivering. He closed the door behind him firmly. Ah, that was loud. He didn't need to turn the key. The latch clicked by itself. The fire he had lit last night was a pile of gray ash. The temperature in the house was dropping fast. He approached the hearth to try and revive the embers. Something crunched under the sole of his boot. He looked down at the rug. Another envelope. No wax seal, no name, thrown as if it was just slid there. He opened it quickly, tearing the paper. "Nah, well, this house keeps things of yours. Old things you don't want to see. Things you deny. If you decide to look, don't do it alone. Not this time. Not again." He turned the page over. There was another phrase on the back. "Memory hides behind the attic." Nawel felt an electric chill run down his spine. Suddenly, a sharp creak on the floor above. A footstep. Heavy. Real. Then another. The wood groaned. Slowly. Thump. Thump. It sounded as if someone was walking, barefoot on the boards. He looked toward the staircase, paralyzed. Nothing moved in the gloom of the landing. But he knew, with animal terror, that he wasn't alone. He forced himself to climb a step. The second step creaked under his weight, like a gunshot. His heart pounded against his ribs, aching. A cold sweat covered his forehead and hands. He reached the landing of the stairs. The air was freezing. To his left, the dark hallway to the bedrooms. To the right, the closed door of the attic. He advanced slowly down the hallway. Every step seemed to weigh a ton. He stopped in front of his mother's room. The door was ajar, just a black crack. He placed his palm on the wood. He felt an unusual residual heat, as if there had been someone inside seconds ago. "Hello? Is someone there?" Only silence answered. He pushed the door with infinite slowness. The room was empty and in shadows, just as he left it years ago, the bed made. But on the white quilt, another letter. This time, there was no envelope. Just a sheet of paper folded in 3 parts. He unfolded it carefully, fearing what it would say. The handwriting was the same, but the ink glistened in the flashlight beam. It was wet. It said, "I warned you. I told you not to lock the door. If you did, now you can no longer leave." At that precise instant, a metallic click was heard downstairs. The unmistakable sound of the front door locking. Did it lock by itself? It can't be. Oh, you're 5 days deep into this creepy horror house and you're shocked by that? Seriously? He ran to the hallway, stumbling. And to be clear, he didn't lock anything. He went out of his way to not lock things. Just saying. He went down the steps 2 at a time, almost falling. He threw himself against the front door. It was locked. The lock was turned all the way. He searched his pockets. The key wasn't there. He pounded the wood with his closed fist. Then he rested his forehead against the door, breathing heavily. The cold of the wood pierced his skull. Then behind him, he heard the sound again. Footsteps on the upper floor. But this time, they weren't walking. They were running. Thump, 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 thump. Coming towards the stairs. Nawel spun around, pressing his back to the door. Something was coming down the stairs at full speed. He couldn't see it in the darkness, but he felt the vibration in the floor getting closer. He took refuge in the kitchen, closing the door behind him. He leaned his back against the wood and jammed the handle with a chair. He scanned the table for a weapon, anything. The original letter had disappeared, and in its place was the photograph of the woman. This time, it was turned completely toward him. The woman in the photo looked straight at him and smiled. A smile that wasn't there before. Have we seen this photo of this woman before now? The way that was phrased made it sound like this is a familiar photo to us, but I think that's the first time we've seen it, so I'm a little confused. Nawel opened his eyes suddenly, inhaling a mouthful of cold air. He didn't remember falling asleep. The last memory was the terror, the footsteps, the closed door. Now he was hunched over the kitchen table. His neck hurt and his back was stiff from the bad posture. He looked around in panic, searching for the threatening letter. It was no longer there. The table was clean. Only his cup of tea remained. A perfect vertical column of steam rose from the liquid. It was the only thing that seemed real in a house that lied. He looked toward the window. The sky was still covered in that opaque white, sunless. The fog hadn't moved at all. Time seemed to have frozen while he slept. 3 sharp knocks on the front door broke the silence. Knock, knock, knock. The sound resonated in his ribs like a hammer blow. Nawel jumped up, knocking the chair backward. He stood motionless, holding his breath. He waited in silence, praying it was the wind. Again, more insistent. They weren't knocks from a monster. They were human knuckles. He approached the hall cautiously, sticking to the wall. Hello? Who is it? He saw a blurry silhouette outlined behind the frosted glass. Nawel Vereda? His heart skipped a violent beat. They knew his name. The voice didn't sound aggressive. It sounded resigned. He turned the latch and opened the door slowly. Ah, so it isn't unlocked. Or it isn't locked. It is unlocked. Yay. A woman stood on the threshold. She was about 30, wrapped in a gray wool coat. Her hair was damp from the fog, and she had deep, dark circles under her eyes. Her eyes watched him with a mix of pity and fatigue. My name is Lucia. Don't be scared. I knew your mother. What? When? I've never seen you before. Many years ago, before all this got worse. I used to come here for other reasons, to try to help her. Congratulations, Dim. Congratulations on beating that game. That's a tough game to beat. You did it. Nawel frowned, evaluating whether to slam the door in her face. What reasons? What are you talking about? She looked toward the interior of the house, then at the forest. It's cold out here, Nawel. Can I come in? He hesitated. His every instinct screamed at him not to let anyone in. But her eyes seemed to be the only honest thing for miles. He nodded and stepped aside. Minutes later, they were sitting in front of the stove. Nawel had stoked the fire, which crackled loudly. The heat brought color back to her hands. This house has a memory, you know. But it's a tricky memory, like that of a resentful old man. Sometimes it remembers things that never happened. Sometimes it forgets the essentials on purpose to confuse you. Muted myself in time. Stop talking in riddles. What do you know about my mother? That she clung to this place as if it were a life preserver. She believed the house held something she had lost. Now to never play it again. Nawel looked at her with suspicion. He didn't like how she spoke. And you? What are you looking for here in the middle of nowhere? I don't know. Maybe I'm looking for the same thing as you. A way out. She got up and walked around the room. She moved with confidence, moving around the furniture without looking. Have you been to the attic yet? No, it's locked. I don't have the key. You never need a key for that. Just know where to touch. She stopped in front of the fireplace. With the tip of her boot, she slightly turned a loose tile. A dry click resonated under the floor, unlocking a mechanism. You have to be very careful with what you choose to remember. She turned to him and reached into her pocket. Here, this was yours. She held out something small, wrapped in a velvet cloth. Nawel took it. It was heavy. It was a music box of dark wood, worn by touch. It had a blurry engraving on the lid he couldn't distinguish. Without thinking, he turned the small side crank. An ancient, childish, sad melody filled the room. Nawel felt a sharp pang in his temple. A white flash crossed his mind. Distant laughter, the warmth of a fireplace, a voice singing. She used to play it for you when you had nightmares, did you know? Nawel closed his eyes, dizzy. He didn't answer. There's something else outside in the forest. What thing? Oh, well, it's past the edge of the oaks. It's the only place where the fog doesn't move. Nawel opened his eyes. Fear climbed up his back again. How do you know all of that? Because I was there many times. And because you were there too, Nawel. You're wrong. I never... Who are you really? You're not a neighbor. That changes with every version of you. In some, I am a stranger. In others, I am a friend. Today, I am the one who accompanies you to the edge. Tension hung in the air like dust in sunlight. Lucia ran her fingers along the back of an armchair. Your mother spoke a lot about you in her letters, but you weren't like this in her descriptions. Like what? So silent, so broken inside. You don't know me. You have no idea who I am. I know enough. I know what you did to yourself to forget. Nawel clenched his jaw until his teeth hurt. Suddenly, the old clock on the wall made a noise. Tick. The hand moved. Tick. Tick. Nawel had never seen it work. It was rusted. Everything is starting again. There is no more time. What is starting? The cycle. The house is waking up completely. Silence returned, broken only by the tick-tock of the clock. Sometimes I think we came here to remember together. What do you expect from me? I don't understand what you want. For you not to deny yourself. For you to accept what you are going to see. Lucia stood up abruptly. I have to go before it gets darker. Listen to me well, Nawel. Do not lock the door tonight. This time, please, let whatever needs to enter, enter. Before he could ask more, she opened the door. The fog seemed to pounce on her to engulf her. She left without looking back. Nawel was left alone in the hall. Her warning remained echoing in the hall. And you think I'm going to lock the door after that? Nope. He looked at the lock. His hand went to the key, but he stopped. He remembered Lucia's tired look. This time, against all logic, he didn't lock the door. He left the latch free. Maybe that's why the cycle began to break imperceptibly. He returned to the living room with his heart beating fast. He looked at the music box again. It was still playing softly. Then he noticed something strange on the coffee table. The photograph he had found before was back there, but it was different. The image had mutated. He was no longer alone. It showed him and Lucia, sitting on the porch of this same house. They were both laughing, heads together. It was the same framing, the same light, the same house. But the photo was clearly from years ago. Noel put his hand to his mouth. He didn't remember that moment. He didn't remember meeting her. But his expression in the photo was undeniably real. He looked relaxed, at peace, as if he had been happy, as if he had once loved her deeply. I feel like this game is trying to be deep and provocative, and I'm not feeling it. This is one of those stories where I'm still wondering, okay, why? Why is he here? Why is he in this house? Why is he not leaving? I know people in horror stories tend to behave a bit irrationally, but this defies all logic. Why is he here in the first place? All I know is that he's here because he was given directions to the house. And he's still in the house because the story demands it? I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this. I'm going to BRB, guys. I'm not done yet. Just BRBing. Just give me a minute. Enjoy this nice, pleasant music while I'm gone. Alright, I'm back. I had to go out and grab a package real quick. I got a package from Japan. If you guys want to see what's inside, then check out the video on my main channel on Saturday. As soon as the stream's over, I'm going to open it up. Okay. Nawel opened his eyes, disoriented. He didn't know when he had fallen asleep. Probably because of that music box. He was sitting in the chair, his neck stiff and aching. The music box was still playing on the wooden table. Tink, tink, tink. A melody repeated so many times he no longer heard it. It became part of the air. It had become part of the air, like the beating of his heart. Outside, the fog remained unchanging, dense, eternal, opaque. He felt a sharp thump in his chest, a violent palpitation. It wasn't fear, it was a pull, a hook buried in his sternum. An impulse, almost a military order, forced him to move. He moved like a puppet, without thinking, without hesitation. He put on his damp jacket, grabbed a heavy flashlight. He looked for an old canteen bottle and put the box in his pocket. The music was muffled by the fabric, but didn't stop. He didn't even ask himself what he was looking for. He only knew with absolute certainty that he had to go out. The forest was mute, as if holding its breath. No birds were heard, nor the rustle of leaves, nor insects. Only the crunch of his own boots breaking the dead leaf litter, and the music, tink, 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 coming from his coat. He didn't remember winding it. It should have stopped hours ago. His feet found a hidden path under the brush. Excuse me. He barely remembered it from his childhood, but his legs knew the way. Something shuddered inside him. It wasn't last night's fear. It was something worse. Anticipation. The landscape changed. Subtly. No Acer Kyrcy. No Acer Kyrcy. Anyway. Low branches were cut by machete, scarred long ago. Someone had passed through here, long ago, or many times. On the pine trunks, red ribbons hung. They were faded, rotted by rain and sun. They looked like old, bloody bandages tied to the bark. He stopped in front of a wooden sign nailed to the ground. It was covered in mold, but the white paint still resisted. It said, almost screaming in silence, "Keep away." No, it says no RCRC. Beyond the sign, the world disappeared into whiteness. I assume that's keep out in Portuguese. Nawel crossed the boundary without stopping. That's not me spamming the mouse button. It's just the sound of the text coming on screen. He felt the change on his skin. The air became denser, heavier, still. Like entering a vacuum-sealed room. Oh, that can't be good. The path ended in a perfect circular clearing. Well, I could always turn that off, I think. Yeah, let's just do that. In the exact center, there was a stone well. Ancient, covered in lichens that looked like green veins. A frayed rope hung from the crossbeam into the black void. He approached, mesmerized. The stone rim had deep marks carved by chisel. Geometric symbols he didn't understand rationally. But his stomach tightened upon seeing them. They were familiar. like a birthmark. He reached out and placed his palm on the stone. So cold, it burned. An image exploded in his mind with the force of a blow. The world spun. He saw himself, a child, in shorts, standing in front of the same well under a sun that no longer existed. Beside him was Lucia, much younger, almost a teenager, and his mother, tall, with her hair down. "If you ever forget who you are, come back here." The voice resonated in his skull, clear, warm, and real. The memory cut off abruptly. Nawel stumbled back, gasping. The music box in his pocket stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was deafening. From the bottom of the well, a murmur emerged. It wasn't the wind. The air was still. Nawel. Nawel. Sorry. A female voice. Raspy. Pained. It was familiar. Impossibly familiar. He approached the edge slowly, dragging his feet. He leaned over the stone mouth. He looked into the unfathomable darkness. Nothing, only thick blackness like oil. He took another step, leaning dangerously far. A whisper behind his back made him spin around on guard. There was no one in the clearing, only the blind trees. He looked back at the well. Something was shining deep down, a metallic or watery reflection. He took the flashlight and aimed the beam of light downwards. The light was swallowed by the darkness before touching the bottom. The cold rose from the hole and pierced through him. And yet, he didn't want to leave. He couldn't. The rope hung temptingly, inviting him to go down. Old, rotten, but maybe it would hold. He hesitated. His mind screamed, "Run," but his body wanted to fall. Sure. Again, horror story, main character, no sense of self-preservation. Curiosity was stronger. He took another step. His knees touched the cold stone of the rim. The cold climbed up his legs like veins of ice. The abyss seemed more real and honest than the world above. He closed his eyes for an instant, dizzy with vertigo. When he opened them, the shine down there pulsed strongly, like an eye opening in the darkness. Then he heard the crunch of broken branches behind him. "You shouldn't be alone here." Her voice sounded flat, without surprise. Lucia emerged from among the trees like a solid ghost. "How did you know? Did you follow me?" "No need to follow you. It always ends up here. Nawel always comes back to the well sooner or later." "What is this? Why does it call me?" "It's a node, a wound in the earth." You know, this whole thing could end a lot faster if she would just say what's going on instead of speaking in riddles. Just saying. "A place where time got infected. Things repeat here, but they change a little every time." Nawel looked back at the carved stone with horror. "What do these symbols mean?" "It's a warning in ancient Mapuche. It means something like door of no return or mouth of the earth." The silence grew thicker between them. "Your mother tried to seal it with rituals, with prayers, but it was never enough. The crack is older than her." "What is down there, Lucia?" "Not a what, a who, or what remains of someone." Girl, you're not Edgar Allan Poe. He wrote on ravens. Noel's heart beat like a war drum. I heard her. I heard her voice. I know. The house uses the voice that hurt you the most. Lucia looked at him with infinite sadness in her eyes. Once I went down too, long ago. What did you find? Myself. But not the version I thought I was. I found my worst parts. The well seemed to breathe at his back. A subtle vapor, almost invisible, emerged from the center. If you go down, something changes in the story, but you don't know what. And if I don't go down, something also changes, but you don't choose it. So, it literally makes no difference. Noel moved closer to the edge, fascinated. The rope moved slightly on its own, as if someone were tightening it from below. Today is not the day, Noel. How do you know? Because you are still afraid, and fear feeds you, but doesn't protect you. This game is trying so hard to be profound. I'm not feeling profound. If anything, I'm feeling a little stupid. Like I'd rather be playing a different game. But here I am. I'm still doing this. I'm still here. No, maybe it'll get better. You know, maybe at the end there will be a big plot twist and I'll be like, oh, that explains everything. Okay, this game is secretly genius. We can only find out by getting to the end. Noel breathed deeply, filling his lungs with stale air. He wanted to look one more time, but his legs didn't respond. Let's go back. The wind is picking up. I don't want to forget this. You won't be able to, even if you want to. They walked in silence back to the path. Halfway there, the music box vibrated in his pocket. It started playing again on its own. Tink, tink, tink. The same broken fragment of melody as always. But this time, Noel noticed something different in the sound. Between the metallic notes, there was a very soft voice, almost like radio interference. Don't close your eyes this time. Look at me. Yeah. I don't want to continue today. I guess we'll just, why is it called the Fissure? A fissure is a deep crack in the earth. The aftermath of an earthquake. So, I wonder why it's called that. Maybe we'll get some answers in the next stream. I hope so, because right now, I had a hard time liking the other VN that these guys made as well, but at least that one had a rhyme and a reason to it. The guy was visiting his hometown because his mom had passed away, and he was trying to settle her estate and meet up with old friends. This one, for what purpose is this guy in this town? Is it because he's caught in a loop against his will? But even so, you'd think that he would have an idea of why he thinks he's there. But no, right now, like, it really feels like he's only there for the sake of the story. There's no explanation. There's no purpose. There's no intent for him to do anything while he's here. He just showed up, and otherwise he's just stayed in the house most days, doing nothing, getting creeped out, and doing nothing about it. The thought of leaving doesn't even seem to enter his mind, and I just don't get it. That is I need a little more. I need a little more logic in this, I guess. And hopefully we, hopefully we get that on Friday. So the game does release tomorrow/Thursday. It releases between now and the next stream. So if you guys want to get this and figure it out for yourselves, then go ahead and do that. Maybe it would be hilarious, actually, if I started up my stream on Friday and you guys spoiled it for me, because at least that means that I made a sale. Anyway, I'll be back on Friday when I'll be continuing the Fissure. I'm sure we'll get any ending. I am not going for 100% completion on this. So, and not a jury would convict me. Thank you to Trash Rando, Andrea, Rotsafi, Dimlord, and King Desert Loner, aka Wildman the Great, for being here, and the bot. We got the bot again today. It's always a pleasure banning him. Shout out to the lurkers, and shout out to everyone watching this on YouTube afterwards. Remember, the Fissure releases this week, and I'll be back on Friday when I'll be continuing my playthrough of it. Hope to see you all then. On behalf of East Asia Soft, I have been Skull. Have yourselves a great day and a great week, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.